asked me a couple of weeks ago, you get these extreme questions. I'm sure you've heard plenty of them. You get these extreme questions, well, what if they come to my door first? Can I shoot them? No. Don't ask me a question like that. No. I said, no, you tell them to go see the sheriff.
Where's your water?
Or let me call the sheriff and have the sheriff come down. Now, this is going on, and I'm not just speaking out of my head here. There are sheriffs around America right now that are retraining. In fact, they just had a big sheriff's training seminar down in Oregon a few weeks ago. And I really wanted to go to it, but I didn't have time. But what they're doing is they're retraining sheriffs to deal with these kind of situations. And a lot of them don't want to do it. In fact, some of them have even been asked point blank. It happened in Alabama a few weeks ago. They asked the sheriff, will you abide by the Constitution and stand against the federal government? He said no. They asked him to resign, and he did. He resigned. And so they're electing a new sheriff. And this has happened all over the United States right now. I do want to tell you what the rest of my training was. I've had quite a bit of training. I've owned and operated a business for 16 years. I was an EMT for a while after I got out of the Marines. I went to EMT school. While I was in the Marines, I was cross-trained as a battlefield medic. I'm Arctic survival qualified, for whatever that's worth. This past winter didn't pay off too much. Sitting outside in your t-shirt. And I can do that when it's 20 degrees, it doesn't bother. So my wife thinks I'm crazy. So. But I've operated in Islamic cultures. That's something else I want to touch on, and I'm not against any race, creed, belief, religion, or anything like that. I'm not. But we are, a lot of the reasons some of the sheriffs have resigned and chief of police have resigned is for that very reason. If you don't understand that culture, and I do, I used to teach it. I used to what's called counter-teaching. In other words, how to deal with it. I wasn't teaching people to become Islamic. But I would rather teach them how not to, because I understand. I've worked in their countries. I've worked in probably about 7 Islamic countries. And be glad you're in America. That's what I'm saying. Especially if you're a lady. Be glad you're in America. But their culture is very pervasive, and they are taking over some parts of the United States right now. Have you been to Michigan lately?
Oh, yeah. Largest Islamic.
They've just about taken over the place.
Right.
What they do is they try to become 5% of your overall culture, and they try to reach 40% of government. In the government, in the local governments and the state governments. They try to reach that level. Once they do, they take over everything. Now, you think, well, we're way out here in this rural county. This is one of the reasons I have stepped into this race. Not because of Islamic culture, because of this very mindset. We are becoming a global society now, whether we like it or not. But like has already been said, we need to draw the line in the sand somewhere. And I drew it a long time ago. I don't know about you, but I think a lot of people are way behind. But I drew the line many years ago. And we're being confronted with this problem here in this county. It's not open yet, but I'm aware of their presence. I know where they're at. I've already got tabs on them. There's people watching them. They may be completely peaceful. We don't know, and they probably are. But what I have learned about them is once they reach a certain number, they will start becoming a problem. So there's a way, there's some people out teaching now how to reach them, though, how to be able to kind of, in a nice way, keep their culture down at a certain level, but yet get along with them, make them good neighbors, those kind of things. This is America. We do need to learn how to get along with each other, no matter where we're from or what we believe. But for a sheriff's department, that's going to become, as we go on, that's going to become a much more trying circumstance they're going to have to deal with. And I've dealt with it a little bit back east. It's a lot worse back there. It's not too bad here yet. But if you go over into the west part of the state, they're moving in over there and building things and doing things over there. So, and in fact, the 2 sheriff's departments on the West Coast have filed official complaints with the federal government concerning some of those things too. So I've got those reports at home. But I've stepped into this race because of the time we're in. because of my past experience. And I've already talked to many police officers across the United States and different sheriffs. In fact, I don't know how many of you know Sheriff Richard Mack. He'll be coming here to speak for me on the 30th of this month at Chihuahua, because he and I see eye to eye on a lot of things. So he said he would step in there for me. The Sheriff's Department's going to face some new things. There's some other, of course, there's some local issues too. I know you hear things all the time, and until you really get in there, you don't really know how to deal with it. You know, there's things about the ambulance service, keeping it updated, and you know, trying to keep them. I know right now, I think a lot of them are still on part-time and things like that. But you know, the ambulance service, I just want to know where my mind's at, because I don't know exactly the whole inner workings of it right now, because I'm not in there. I can't know that. But they are a lifeline of the community. And if we focus on anything, we are to have the best ambulance service that we can possibly have with the funds we have available. And I was questioned the other day. I just want to go ahead and bring this question out in case somebody asks it. What about our jail? It's overcrowded. Now, I hope I don't step on too many toes here, but I have some pretty sharp mind. I have a very sharp mindset about jails and prisons. I've actually worked with the Sheriff's Department as a volunteer. I worked as a chaser when I got out of the Marines. We chased escaped convicts. I like to tell people about our magic jail in Stokes County, North Carolina. We had a jail that seemed to have or a prison that seemed to have a magic cartoon hole in the side of the building, and they just kept getting out. Obviously, it was an inside job, but they did solve that problem after a while. But it did create quite a bit of excitement for a young man chasing people up to the first floor of the Blue Ridge Parkway area. Quite scenic. It was fun. The Sheriff's Departments have got to change the way they think and the way they do things for this time period now, because things are changing. And it's going to take some new blood. And one of the things that was asked of me was, what about the jail and taxes? Does taxes have to go up to build a new jail? Now, of course, I would want to talk to the commissioners about that, but no, I say no, because the way I feel about jails is jails should be a place where people don't want to go. You know, I like this nonsense about having televisions in the jail, and you know, I want to relate this to one thing. I know I need to end this, but I want to relate this to one thing. Our men and women in the armed services are only guaranteed 2 meals a day in their contract. When I was in the battlefield, I went 3 days without eating. And we ran out of water more than once in 120-degree heat in the desert. It irks me that we worry so much about our jails with prisoners getting 3 meals a day, sitting on their tails all day doing nothing. When we've got men and women over in Iraq and Afghanistan right now that don't even get that consideration. They get to sleep on rocks at night. And they're lucky to get 1 meal a day.
And that's out of a can.
Right, and it's no good, believe me. It causes constipation really bad. Thank you.
While the storm clouds gather all across our land, let us seek His favor from God's gracious hand. Let us fight for freedom, regain our liberty, send the tyrants packing to the deepest sea. God